2021 was a sad year for Toyota fans. The Land Cruiser that year was canceled in the United States. Luckily for us, just 2 years later, they introduced this model. However, this is not the full-size Land Cruiser we've come to know and love in the United States. This is the Prado, the smaller brother of the full-size J300 that other markets get. Most Americans didn't know that we already had the Prado stateside in the form of the Lexus GX, and the Lexus GX still exists. It's essentially this vehicle still to this day, just with different styling, different powertrain. So we're going to review the J250 Land Cruiser Prado today, even though it's not called the Prado stateside. Toyota just calls it the Land Cruiser because it's the only one we get. So after we review it, we're going to head to the office and see what kind of deals can be had, if any. Should you be getting a 4Runner? Should you be getting a GX? Should you not be looking at any Toyota body on frame SUVs? And how does it stack up as well on the spreadsheet of all the vehicles I've driven in 2025, including the fantastic all-new Nissan Armada? Land Cruiser just gets one powertrain option here in the United States. In other markets, you even see things like a 4-cylinder 2.7 liter naturally aspirated that we used to see on the Tacoma in previous generations. There's turbo diesels and turbo diesel mild hybrids available in other market of this J250. Stateside, we get one option, 2.4 liter gasoline engine that's turbocharged in a hybrid configuration, producing 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque, 8-speed automatic, full-time 4x4. In the United States also, it is standard center locking and rear locking differential. With this hybrid powertrain, you should be able to get a little bit over 20 miles per gallon, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that when we start driving. There are two Land Cruiser grades in the United States. The base one is a 1958. This one is the full-blown Land Cruiser. It comes at over $70,000 with the options I have on it. And the Land Cruiser trim up front is going to look different than the 1958 for two reasons. We have paint-matched little bumper garnishes here, which look awesome with this trail dust. And then we have the blocky, more rectangular headlights compared to the 1958, which has circular headlights. I like them both. Depending on what day of the week it is, I might pick the circular headlights. However, this paint matched piece looks way better than the 1958's matte black, essentially what you see here. And for our market, you see this square pattern on the bottom grille, the top grille, the Heritage Toyota lettering. But for other markets, you'll see the Toyota badge, a more vertical sort of styling of the grille. I think this one looks the best, but I'll let you guys battle it out in the comments below if you like the more traditional Prado look instead of this boxy kind of J60 Land Cruiser inspired styling. So as we move from the muscular hood area, we have optional 20-inch wheels here. It costs about $1,200, and whenever you go larger wheel size, you have the possibility of ruining a little bit of ride quality and smoothness. So I would be sticking with the 18-inch wheels, which also is going to save you a little bit of money. I like the standard running boards, the blocky side mirrors, which is a big upgrade over something like the 4Runner's more Camry-like side mirrors. We have the blacked out handlebars here. This trail dust has the two-tone roof here with the white top. There's also the Heritage Blue, which for 2025 can also come monotone. You don't have to have the Heritage Blue if you go with that color with the two-tone. And the wheelbase here is 112.2 inches, which Toyota claims is the golden ratio for off-roading. They've been sticking to that ratio on their full-size Land Cruisers for a long time. This is the first time we've seen this wheelbase of 112 inches on a smaller Prado. Coming to the back of the Land Cruiser, just as boxy as the front. I'm a big fan. You can see how cool these rear taillights are. Land Cruiser badge. We also have the lift gate, or should I say lift glass, which is synonymous with the old, let's say, Lexus GX, aka the Prado that we used to get, or the only version of the Prado we used to get was the Lexus. Now we have it on the Toyota end as well with this vehicle. This is strange. We have like this large diaper cover to cover the hitch receiver down here. These things can tow around 6,000 pounds. I would look for an aftermarket solution to replace this because this looks absolutely terrible. And then you have one exhaust pipe here, a recovery point down there. You also have a skid plate up front. I forgot to mention you have a skid plate up front, recovery points up front, and then also a full-size spare tire underneath here. And you can see the floor is raised here. Why? Well, it's a hybrid, so you have to put the battery somewhere, and it's below this raised floor. Now, for most markets outside of the United States, they have the optional third row seats on the Landcruiser J250. For our market, they decided to keep those options for other Toyota and Lexus models. For example, the Lexus GX, which is a restyling of this exact same vehicle, has 3-row standard, and you can delete that third row on the Lexus GX 550 if you get the Overtrail models. So if you need a 3-row SUV for America, well, Toyota has you covered. You can get a Highlander, Grand Highlander. You can get, if you want body on frame, you can get the 4Runner. Even the SR5 has a third row seat. You can get the Sequoia, right? So you have a lot of options. So I understand kind of why Toyota did it, but you have cup holders for the non-existent third row. You have USB-Cs. You have vents in the back for this non-existent third row, which is kind of funny. Now you also have this 2400 watt power accessory outlet, which is a real nice thing if you're going to be camping, doing some overtrail sort of things, overlanding. And these lights up here are new for 2025. I think it's around a $200 upgrade, and that's the only new thing for 2025, these lights, besides that you can get that Heritage Blue without the two-tone. Now this Landcruiser has the premium package, which is going to give us leather, JBL sound system, lots of other things we'll talk about here in a second, but leg room is better here than it is in the 4Runner based on this same platform. Headroom's good, vents right above me. I have climate control back here, as well as USB-Cs and a 12 volt. There is no panel roof option here. If you want a panel roof, you're gonna have to get the Lexus GX variant, but at least I have a fold down armrest and cup holder combo. I like the grab handle here. If I remember, the 4Runner doesn't have a grab handle here for the driver. Massive windows, very upright here. We have a digital rearview mirror, all part of this premium package here on this Landcruiser trim. I also have a head-up display. I have the JBL audio, leather seats like I mentioned. I have a cool box in here on this premium package as well. Also the eyeball sensor. That might be, it's so annoying because like front cross traffic alert, even if you disable it through the menus, it like turns itself on every time you get back in the car. And it also has the annoying eyeball sensor. If you're looking, even at the screen, it'll say like, hey, you know, keep your eyes on the road. So it's a frustrating system. It comes with this traffic jam assist package that's included in the premium. Unfortunately, you can't just like remove it from the premium package. And that might be a deal breaker for the premium package for some people. It's a pretty frustrating experience. Outside of that nannying system that we see in other Toyota Lexus for safety features, I love this interior. I love the physical switches here. Are dials better? Yes, but I'm not going to complain because everyone seems to be going to either touch capacitive controls, touch screen controls. I'll take this any day of the week. This is great here. I have heated and ventilated seat buttons, heated steering wheel button. The vents are in a good spot, not too low. I have my wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto going, which is also fantastic. And Toyota finally built in an escape button from that software. Previously, you had to run through the menus while you're driving just to get back to the base software if you needed to. And even though this is a hybrid, it doesn't have any of that, you know, hybrid energy monitor that you would see on like a Camry hybrid or RAV4 or Prius. That gives you an idea of what's happening with this system. Instead, you'll have a max bar. Let me pick up the camera. You have this max bar here that'll let you know how much battery charge you have and how much electric assist is going on, but it's not nearly as sophisticated as what we see with the information readouts on normal Toyota hybrids. This being a truck Toyota hybrid, they're like, hey, it's not so much about efficiency, it's all about that power gain. But we'll talk about that power gain here in a little bit. I like the Toyota Heritage lettering here. It just looks a little small on this steering wheel. I wish it was like nice, big, blocky, and chunky. It's a bit comical. I like all the chunky buttons here on the steering wheel. The leather wrap steering wheel is absolutely fantastic. The vent over here, circular, nice and high to cool me down. And speaking of AC in here, it's been incredible. AC nowadays is hit or miss, but typically in a Toyota hybrid, and it's the case here, like this thing, even if it's been sitting in the sun, you get in it, you crank the AC, it cools off the entire Landcruiser really, really quickly. And it was like 95 degrees the other day, and my 5-year-old in the backseat, she said, less AC. I've never heard her say that before. She always wants more AC. So this thing has incredible air conditioning. Traditional shifter here in front of the wireless charger. Drive mode select. Of course, you have that here. Just 3 modes: sport, normal, and eco. And then you also have multi-train select, which can be done in 4 high now. I think that's something newer for Toyota body on frame trucks. So multi-train select, you have deep snow, mud, sand, dirt, and auto. And then you also have downhill ascent control as well as crawl control, which is all fine and dandy. We're not doing any off-roading. I have off-roaded this. Go ahead and check the link if you want to watch me off-roading the Landcruiser. Most people who are buying this is a flex. It's a beautiful truck. It's all about how it drives in town. Most people are never going to be touching their center and rear lockers on here. I have the optional stabilizer bar disconnect as well, which is an extra $1,200. If I was spending this money, I'd probably get it just to have it and probably never use it. What does that do? The sway bar disconnect disconnects the sway bar for the front wheels, so you have better articulation while off-roading. The visors are plastic like they are in the 1958. I guess that's going to make it for a very rugged experience. You know, these things will never get old since they're plastic, where if you had fabric ones, they could fade over time, I guess. I don't know. It's just interesting why they kept the roof here plastic. But overall, the interior here is a huge upgrade versus the 1958, which is cloth and really hard touch plastic everywhere. At least I have softer materials here. However, I will say the armrest for the driver is way too thin with the padding. I'd want that to be thicker like it is in the center armrest here. But let's start driving the Landcruiser. You have your camera button right underneath the climate control above the USB-Cs here, and you can see how it draws underneath the vehicle what is actually underneath the vehicle. I love that camera feature here. Park brake in sport mode here. Okay, yep, it's not fast. No one's expecting it to be that fast. Here's the thing, 0 to 60 in 8.39, so essentially 8.4 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 8.9. The base 4Runner with the non-hybrid setup, I remember it was getting something in the 7s. All right, I'll have to double check, but that was around 7 seconds, 0 to 60. In the 4Runner. The 4Runner feels a lot lighter than this Landcruiser. And the engine is kind of loud when your foot is down. Now, when you're just putting around, keeping up with traffic, it's a pretty darn good engine and powertrain overall. It's smooth. For the most part, I feel like it's gotten smoother. The transmission here is still pretty slow. It doesn't like to shift quickly, but you have so much torque in here that you don't have, it downshifts a couple gears and just goes. All right, I love the torque in here. It feels like it's got a nice well of torque, but it doesn't have the top end that it needs. All right, the 4Runner, like I said, the SR5 non-hybrid just spanks this in terms of performance. All right, and maybe it's because it can be in rear wheel drive and it doesn't have to send all the power to all the wheels all the time like this full-time 4x4 in the Landcruiser does. So most of you don't care. Most of you don't care about speed on a Landcruiser. I agree. All right, but it's worth mentioning that the 4Runner feels a lot more sprightly. All right, now that that's done and over with, the last time I drove the Landcruisers, I had some weird hiccups with the shifting sometimes, or the downshifting. It was really rough. I haven't had any of that weirdness or roughness here. So from 24 model year to 25 model year, it is a smoother experience in here. And I think that is necessary because the powertrain, while not perfect, it suffers from having a buzzy 4-cylinder and a slow transmission. And the last thing you want to add on top of that is some weird clunkiness going on. It seems like all that clunkiness is gone with the 25 model year. So that's good. What isn't gone though is the wind buffeting. I'm only going 49 and I have wind buffeting on the A-pillar here. And that's just what's going to happen when you have such a vertical window here and achieving this aesthetic for boxiness. And I don't have dual pane glass here, which is crazy to me because this is a $70,000 premium package. You'd think you would have acoustic glass. Nope, you're gonna have to get the Lexus GX for those more premium features. Now, fuel economy, I'm getting about 21 miles per gallon. The best I saw, I think, was 27 miles per gallon. And I'll just leave the fuel economy there. Some people are gonna get better or worse. And that's the thing, like the fuel economy on this hybrid is no better than the non-hybrid seen on the 4Runner. Okay, so I just wish we had a non-hybrid option on this here in America, all right, because not everyone wants, a hybrid. Not everyone wants a turbo. I know most of you are like, hey, put a V8 in there or give me a V6. Well, if you want the V6, you can get it. You'll just have to get the Lexus GX, and that powertrain is better than this turbo hybrid 4-cylinder, all right? But we'll tackle that issue at the end when we get back in the office. All right, comfort in here is quite good. And like I said, I need more padding on this armrest, but the seat is super cozy. I sit upright. The ride quality is a bit bumpy, but it's not terrible. The ride quality is just, some people are gonna love it because it feels very trucky and very rigid. But the Lexus is gonna ride slightly better than this, just slightly. If you want a smoother riding experience from this J250. But also you'll get a better ride quality with the 18-inch wheels, which again, this does not have. This one's been optioned with the 20-inch wheels that are not to my liking. This head-up display is very familiar. I've seen it in the Tacoma. I think the Tacoma can get it on the top trims. The 4Runner can get it too. It's very low to the hood. All right, so my visibility is much higher than where the head-up display is. And you can move the head-up display up a little bit, but it sits real low. I do wish that the head-up display could be angled a little bit higher, that I don't have to drop my eyes down. It's because essentially I'm not having to move my eyes a whole lot from the head-up display to my instrument cluster behind the steering wheel. That's all. It's like almost in the same spot for me. All right, from my point of view. So the head-up display is like a non-factor. I'm typically not looking at it, even though it's perfectly fine. I'm not getting any weird double vision. It's crisp, it's bright. The mirrors went for a more stylistic view, meaning they're tall and not very wide, which is not going to be great for towing. But I do love the boxy aesthetic of the mirrors. They look amazing. All right, let's get into the brakes here. We'll get hard into the brakes now. Yeah, that was pretty good. I'm happy with the brakes in here. I only had one instance where I was wishing I had more brake response, but overall, I'm happy with the brakes. Sometimes with hybrids, they can be a bit funny. No funniness going on, at least from my perspective. I really like the brake feel. It feels pretty progressive. So the only complaint I really have with the Landcruiser is this powertrain. On paper, it hits way harder than it actually does in reality. And it's your only powertrain option here on the Landcruiser in the United States. And I know you might be saying, Kirk, it's a Landcruiser, it's not built for speed. I know, I get it, but I want something more refined, and that's what I'm used to in Landcruisers, whether it's a J200, whether it's an LX or GX. I'm used to more refinement from the powertrains for these Landcruisers, and this one, even though on paper, like I said, it looks good, it's just not quite there, even though it has improved versus the weird hiccups I would have on the 24 model. All right, so it's just still not there, and it's largely due to this this 4-cylinder. It's fine in a 4Runner, especially a non-hybrid where it's not carrying all that extra weight around, or I'm not forced into full-time 4x4, which has its advantages. All right, but it's just not up to my liking here. This powertrain. I wish I had the option of the twin turbo V6 from the GX. So let's get in the office. Let's talk about Land Cruisers in my area, if it's a good buy, and how is it compared to the competition. Shout out to Land Cruiser Heritage Museum. I bought this with my own money, so it's not like this is gifted to me or anything, but I went to Salt Lake City to reveal this Land Cruiser for you guys. And this is one of the best shirts I've ever bought. It's also one of the more expensive shirts I've ever bought. I also have a J40 Land Cruiser puzzle that's up in my like nerdy showcase at the top of this room. Anyways, let's look at the market. What are these things going for? Well, they're going for MSRP right now, seemingly. I can't find any off of MSRP. There aren't that many out there. The only 72 in my area Land Cruisers, all right, and that includes a 1958. And let's see here. There are about twice as many Land Cruiser trims compared to the 1958. The 1958 is not a good buy in my opinion, unless you're just planning to modify the heck out of these things, because you're already at $60K for a 1958. It looks bad up front with the unpainted bumper. And as cloth seats, as a cheap interior, it's really missing a lot of features for the price. I just can't justify a 1958. All right, so just spend the extra 10 grand or so and get the Land Cruiser build. I know it's confusing. All right, but are there other things out there that I'd rather take? And the answer is yeah, probably. You have a better powertrain experience from the non-hybrid SR5 4Runner. It's way more quick. Shout out to Kirk's Quick Car Reviews. I joke around that those are my quickie reviews. So check out my side channel. I don't know how that snuck in here, but I just really enjoyed the 4Runner. Is far more fun to drive for me than the Land Cruiser. The problem with the 4Runner is that it's really ugly in comparison to the Land Cruiser. So that's the downfall of the 4Runner. It's just like, it seems like Toyota made it ugly so that the Land Cruiser would sell better. Base 4Runner is what I'd buy. If you're spending 60 grand on a 4Runner, just go get the Land Cruiser. That's my opinion. Armada, Pro 4X, or even non-Pro 4X, SV, 4x4. This is a better vehicle. The twin turbo V6 in here is incredible. And the 9-speed is good in here. The vehicle is a better truck than the Land Cruiser. I know this competes more with the J300, but we don't get the J300 here. And the Armada isn't that much more expensive than the Land Cruiser. It's only about 8 grand more. We're seeing discounts on the Pro 4X, and it is a bigger, better, more badass vehicle than the Land Cruiser. It just doesn't have that insane look to it. It doesn't have, at least in America, it doesn't have that Land Cruiser heritage, or I don't know, like it's definitely a badge of honor if you own a Land Cruiser. In the United States, it's not a badge of honor owning an Armada. It's way more stealthy of a vehicle. It is a better vehicle, objectively and subjectively, over the Land Cruiser. And yeah, let's see here. What's the cheapest you can get? Let's see here. SV, you can get a 4x4 SV for under 60K. Oh my gosh. If you're telling me I can save $10,000 and get an Armada, that's a 4x4 with a 5 grand discount, I mean, I wouldn't even think twice about it. So Armada is S tier. It's incredible. And what about the GX? And that's the thing. Here's $70K for a GX Premium. I can spend a little bit more and get a Premium Plus. And I know it doesn't have like a head-up display. You'd have to go for the luxury if I remember correctly. I'd be getting the GX. A twin turbo V6 in here rectifies the major issue I have with the Land Cruiser, in that its powertrain just isn't smooth enough, refined enough, or powerful enough, and it makes it heavy. Like, for example, the Land Cruiser is about 800 pounds heavier than an SR5 4x4 4Runner. That is a massive difference. And as I look at Overtrail models, I would absolutely pick an Overtrail over the Land Cruiser. Again, the Overtrails are almost at $90,000, so it's getting out of reach. Just go buy an Armada. You'd be better off. And that engine in the Armada is even better than this one in the Lexus. So that's the thing. Where does the Land Cruiser fall? Because it's sandwiched between a 4Runner, which is lighter, more fun to drive, uglier,
but way cheaper. And it's really pretty much the same price as a Lexus GX, which has a way better powertrain with the twin turbo V6 and the way better transmission too. I forgot about that. I dog on this 8-speed auto in the Landcruiser with the hybrid anyways. It's much more fun in the 4Runner. And then you have a 10-speed auto in the twin turbo V6 GX, which is a better transmission. It's smoother and it's faster. All right, so what are my thoughts here? What is the Landcruiser fault? Damn it, I am so smitten by the looks that it's probably just an excellent purchase and it's going to hold its value well. But the lack of refinement and power from the engine and transmission and the lack of fuel economy, it's just, it could be done a lot better. All right, so, you know, like I said, I'd be taking a 4Runner over it, even though it's ugly. Easily an Armada over it. I'd be taking a Lexus GX over it. And because there's so many vehicles out there, maybe even a V8 powered American SUV. Oh, that one hurts to say because most of them are pretty damn ugly, but the V8 is so good in like a Chevy, for example. I think it's going to fall somewhere in A category here. And you know what? I think I enjoy driving. You might crucify me for this, and that's okay. I think I enjoyed driving the Wrangler 4xe Willys 1941 edition more. It was a plug-in hybrid. The powertrain is way better than the Landcruisers. I mean, it had that heritage look to it. Oh my gosh, only $58K? And it has those really cool heritage wheels on it. Guys, call me crazy, call me absolutely nuts. I love the tire on the back of this too. And that's something I wish the Landcruiser kept. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm picking the Jeep. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm picking a Jeep Willys 4xe over the Landcruiser. I had more fun in it. You can take the top off. Like, it just had a little bit more charm. And the powertrain was better, like I mentioned. And you can get it for 10, 11, 12 grand less. Call me crazy, that's okay. I had more fun in the Jeep 4xe Willys than I did in the Landcruiser this week. Both of them are good buys. But yeah, like the Landcruiser, you know, it could be better. And that's why there's a GX, I guess. So anyways, I'm going to shut it down. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more reviews on the channel. And I can't wait to see you in the comments. Peace out.